Welcome back to Adobe live from the Awwwards in Amsterdam. And for the next 25 minutes, we're going to be together with Peter Smart. Hey, Peter, how are you?
I'm doing well,
yeah,
thank you.
He just ran right to Adobe Live from a talk that he just had.
So I was just up on stage.
Was that stressful? Like getting texts from our staff saying, hey, where are you? I'm finishing a talk.
All good, all good. I'm pleased to be here. Thanks for having me.
Good. So you're global head of product at Fantasy.
Yeah.
So maybe you want to explain a little bit what Fantasy is and
definitely.
what global head of product means.
Happy to. Yes, I'm sure many of your audience know Fantasy, product innovation team, globally based. So we have offices in New York, San Francisco, London, Miami, and we work with designers all around the world. Many of the top folks actually up on Behance work at Fantasy, and we get to work with amazing partners all over the world to ship groundbreaking products and services with them. And so we've been around since 1999 doing that, which has been amazing.
Since the last century, you
I
can
know.
say. Yes, that's the last minute of the last century.
Unbelievable. We're in 20 years now, and it's been an amazing ride. I think we've had an amazing privilege to work with incredible companies, and often companies that are very aspirational. So are looking to do big disruptive things and to make real impact, which is really exciting.
Oh, there people are asking for your link to your website and the Twitter account. There you go. So, Peter, what was your talk about here at Awwwards?
Great question.
Or were you here for a prize?
So a multitude of things. The talk specifically was on creating magic. I think the premise effectively was we have such an amazing privilege as designers to create experiences, that we are a user experience designers, and what that means is that we get to create things that truly resonate with people and connect them on a human level. But when you take a step back for a second and you look at the industry, so much of what is being produced isn't really about user experience design, it's about user transaction design. And it's about misunderstandings of what it means to sprint and to have an MVP, leading us into awkward situations where we have things like wireframing kits. And I think the ambition and the excitement behind the talk was to look at what does it mean to create magic for people with the technology that we have. And I went through some case studies and we showed lots of really great tangible examples of not only that aspirational ideal, but the impact, the KPIs, the knock-on effect to businesses and to human beings themselves when they engage in something which is designed for a full human being rather than...
You're talking about KPIs. KPIs usually have very stale numbers and things like that, but I guess in your case a KPI is, like emotional reactions?
Sometimes, no, we're talking like hard dollars and cents. We're talking engagement, time on site. We're talking about all of those kind of very factual and functional things that so many businesses aspire to. And they try and go about it by engaging in human-centered design, but I think what we see in the industry today is that human-centered design has become so based now and so simplified that it really just is another word for user testing. And for us, that's not human-centered design. Human-centered design is when you recognize that human beings are full people, and when you can excite them and engage them and make magic for them, they want to stay on your platform. They want to experience it with you. They really appreciate and value and are loyal to you. And so we looked at some great examples of that, and then looked at those very functional KPIs to say, what happens when you do this? And I think that's the amazing privilege that we have as designers, is that for businesses who are aspirational, we have an ability to paint a vision of things that human beings will love, and then we have a chance to make it, which is really exciting.
No, I mean, so since 1999, so a lot of things have changed. Also in the creative space, I guess, right?
Totally.
Because I remember in 1999 you had to be an expert in everything.
Yes.
Webmasters. Webmasters, yeah. I used to code my own HTML in my agency, stuff like that.
That's so cool.
So yeah, but anyway, now people are more focused, I guess, and
totally.
like how is the talent distribution at Fantasy?
It's a great
what is
question.
it you're looking for in
It's a great question. So we work with amazing designers all around the world. We have our offices in SF, New York, London, Miami, but we have since 1999 worked with the world's best talent, and we mean that very genuinely. It's not just about having to be in the offices, and so we work with Vietnam's top designers, we work with the best designers in Russia, in Amsterdam, here in Berlin, and we truly have a global team, which is amazing. It's an amazing privilege, I think, for everyone who is at Fantasy. And I love this. There are so many perspectives and diverse thinking. And so what we look for, honestly, is this ability to not settle. People for whom 7 out of 10 isn't good enough, who want to create magic and who are not going to rest until they do. When you're in an environment with those kind of people surrounding you, it just makes you want to up your game too. And so it's very rewarding, for sure.
So I think there's an example that you might have on
Yes.
your laptop.
And
Like just one example of this magic that that Peter is talking about. So let's see what do you mean with
Okay,
that,
so we're going to dive in real quick here because this is literally just taken from the talk that I just gave. Royal Caribbean, a massive cruising company, they work with they ship people, millions of them around the world every year. They have 55 ships. We've worked with them for over 2 years now. We've shipped 14 products in that time with them. Incredible velocity. Everything from frictionless arrival through to stateroom, like Internet of Things displays in the rooms, through to so Uber. Imagine Uber for mojitos. So you press the button, it would wouldn't that be amazing? We've made that for them, which is incredible, right? So what I did, I just focused on one of these particular projects. And
so is this available to all classes?
This is available to all classes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You can get on the ship and experience this.
And you do it on your mobile?
Phone. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I would love it for real life, honestly. Like, just bring me a glass of wine. That'd be nice.
There's this Mercedes ad, right, from the Super Bowl. Did you see that?
Yes, I know the one you mean.
Where this guy walks around and just says, okay, stop the music or do this.
It's making people feel like superheroes. That's what we mean when we say creating magic. An important context, I think, is that you're on a ship, tens of thousands of other people, hundreds of activities. Understanding what there is to do is so important, right? So just to tap through this incredibly, very quickly, this was the original app. We worked with them for 6 months for the first release. This is the final experience. And you can kind of see that difference between what was there originally and what is there now. And it's all about creating something which is so perfect for that environment, because it's all about context, understanding where you are, what's going on. And so you're seeing here the live ship, you're seeing it all in 3D, you're seeing like positionally like where you are, everything that's happening around you. You're seeing the live weather, live time of day, because when you're on the 24th floor of a ship, it's really important to understand what's going on outside. And do you want to go to the pool right now? Amazing content experiences. You can see some of the shore excursions in VR, even before actually going to do the scuba diving tour, for example. And then all I did in the talk, because that's all flashy and amazing, and that's the end result. But in the talk, what I tried to do is break down very practically for designers, developers, everyone who is out there, and everyone who's out there, like making this stuff. How do you do this? And we walked through this process from start to finish and just looked at, it's what we could learn along the way.
And Tim says, Peter, I've only known you for 5 minutes, but I'm already impressed.
Thanks, Tim. You're a legend.
All right. So we've seen the Post-its.
Yeah.
We've seen the...
You want to see some process?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Experience
Let's finish this.
Yeah, do you want to do this? Yeah, okay. So experience principles. We start always with experience principles. As designers, we could have like business KPIs and user goals and all this kind of stuff. It's really important as experienced designers to have things that you're going to hold on to and never let go of. These are things that are just true and you are never going to break them. And so we say things like context is everything, really important. Show us the hamburger menu on your fire. This was a direct quote from our partner, and we loved it day one because it's so true. You're making something that you want people to engage in. Why on earth would you put it behind hamburger menus and filters and toggles and all of that? Then support decision moments. People are going to be planning from their armchair at home right the way through to kind of being on the ship, and they have 15 minutes. What can they do around them? So how do you support every single one of those decision moments? And for fantasy, we are incredibly aspirational. And so we have internal goals that we just hold close to ourselves. We often say that 7 out of 10 is a failure, or like it just means you're 30% wrong.
Yeah, I was at the Art Center Collaborative Design, and the mantra there was, if it's not perfect, it's not worth showing.
There you go. And it's not about perfectionism. I'm sure it's about, we want to hold ourselves to creating things that truly do give people joy when they use them. And so the design process starts with this. And I think there are many of people who will look at this and have the same anxiety that I do every single time, which is, oh my goodness, we have tabs of user stories. We have 2 weeks, and the engineers are 2 weeks behind us. We have to just go, what are we going to do?
So there's an interesting question here from Anna. How do you sell this type of work to clients? I mean, or do clients come to you, or do you go to the clients and say, hey, I think we could work on your experience?
Yes.
Or how does that happen?
So our partners come to us always, never had a sales team. Only they see the work that we do and they come to us. And we always have about 2 or 3 times more work in our pipeline than we can ever take on, which is one of those tough but good problems to have, I guess. And so that's to our benefit. I think our partners come to us and they're already aspirationally minded. That said, you have to convince people and show them a vision. I was just being asked a question just before I walked on here And they were saying, like, how do we do this in our organization? And I said, you've got to take it down to the foundational goals of people and business and objectives. And if you can talk about it in those terms, then you can sell in and communicate the value of things like motion and attention to detail and high quality design. Because if you can say, the human beings that we're designing for, you want them to stay here, you want them to come back, you want them to feel engaged, you want them to feel excited, to love your brand, and you want to do those things, amazing. We have the tools to help you. Some of those tools that we can use are motion. And you can start to list these things out, and they become a toolkit rather than an expenditure to get a business and organization to their goal. And so it's a great question. We have it every single time that we're ever embarking on a project. But what's really helpful is stuff like this, like rapid little prototypes and like scrappy, this is stuff that I built just in principle, scrappy little experiments. These are super embarrassing to show, but like this isn't a wireframe, it's not a design, it's not motion, it's scrappy, but you're just communicating a vision and saying, look, follow me, imagine, let's go. We're doing motion studies super early on to communicate that vision and say, look, here's what we could kind of create. And motion isn't just about interaction design at the very end of a project. It is about the flow that you're taking people on, and so that's how we see motion and why it's so integral to our process. And to kind of get through this, we did testing, and if you can validate very early on in your process, then you can really sell the value of this.
And I think that's that's also like Kevin is asking, do you have a process on selling it when the client quite isn't feeling it?
Yeah, I mean, again, you're a designer for human beings. We call it human-centered design. We call it all kinds of stuff. But at the end of the day, you have to resonate. And if you're not resonating, then you shouldn't really be selling it. And so if you can show people, show stakeholders, show the partners that you work with that what you're creating actually will have the impact for them early, they're going to get behind you, they're going to start to invest in that. And it might be slow for it to begin with, but then they build that trust with you. And so all I can say is build prototypes, experiments, and test, but do it in this kind of very scrappy way. It's all about trying to communicate a vision as fast as possible so you can get on the right track quickly. It's very... We hate this term MVP, right? MVP is a terrible term because
that's a minimum viable product.
That's it. It forces
for those of you who don't know.
Yes, it forces you to think about just like what is minimally viable, not minimally lovable, and that's the distinction. That we should always be thinking about what's the MLP, things that people are actually going to love, and even if you're starting with the simplest version of that, then you can move fast and break things and all of that crap. But like you have to start with what's the MLP? What are you aiming at that we can then build on over time?
Quick fire round of questions. How much time do you take? How much time duration do you take from the client?
Good question. So for this particular engagement, we've worked with them now for 2 years, over 2 years now. The first release of the application just took 6 months. And there's so much in here that I would love to show you, but we've worked with them iteratively ever since to roll out future releases. Some of our engagements are sometimes maybe 3 months, sometimes they could be 3 years. It all depends on how much impact we're looking to make in a market.
And I think the really cool thing about that is that the empathy you're creating with an app is something that becomes then addictive for the client as well. Because they sort of they have, like, if they see empathy from their customers, they have to work with you, right, to continue to create even more empathy and more experiences. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's very cool. And just to kind of close with some of this other stuff, just to show you, this is how it kind of translates. And so you're seeing things like the live sun position, you're seeing like the live time of day, you're able to see all of this content, as I mentioned, in VR. But then this idea of fluidity, and this is, I think, a really good little lesson, a little nugget in here, that the engineering team came to us and said, like, you see this bottom left one down here, in between loading Monday and Tuesday, there's going to be a lag. There's going to be about a 2 second, 1 second pause where there's no content. And we said, screw that. Like, it's 2019. Like, there's no way we're going to have a load time. And we use this technique called ramping, where what we're doing is from the gaming industry, where you're distracting a user. And so what we did is actually, you can see it here in the bottom left, we load up the weather for that day in between. And not only does that solve that problem, but it actually gives the user, again, more context to understand the activities on that next day, to work out, it's going to be cloudy, maybe I'm going to be indoors today. And so that's how we think. It's not always about the technological limitations first. It's about what is the experience, and then what can we use as our toolkit to really help us.
And Elliot is asking, do you guys code yourself, or you just design the app and give it away to another team for coding?
Every partner is different. So we work with Netflix, they have their own engineering team. We work with Google, they have their own engineering team. Royal Caribbean had an amazing engineering team that they subcontracted themselves. We work with a completely different engineering team who are one of our partners with the Academy of Motion Pictures right now. And so we're very, very flexible with how we work. And what that means at the end of the day is that not only are we really good at working with our partners, we're really good at working with engineering teams of all shapes and sizes and different methodologies. And if you can, at the very start of that engagement, align on a vision and hold true to some experiential ideals, it makes for a great partnership.
That's
great. Let's see some more.
Fluidity,
So creating fluidity. You can see here some of the sub-brands. There's Royal Caribbean Cruises, Azamara Cruises, and Celebrity, all under this kind of one umbrella company. You're seeing the distinction there between even the color of the water, because this is for different audiences. You have Royal Caribbean, which are family-oriented, friendly, fun, almost Disney-like. You then have Celebrity Cruises, sophisticated. They want to see the real teal of the water. Then we built out all 55 of these ships in 3D, 6 months, and you can see here the level of detail that we go to. But again, like, people would ask, like, why would you go to this level of detail? And I would just say, have you ever been on a cruise before? Like, people care about this. They paid hundreds of dollars to be here. It's an amazing experience. We want to make sure that we mirror that experience in the actual application. We even built stuff like octopus slides, like actually on the ships themselves, right? And I mentioned all these other products that we worked on just to kind of, show the natural extension of that. We talk about like the design system that we're building. You can see how that translates through to things like the stateroom TV. And you wake up first thing in the morning and you can see what there is to do that day. And there's this mixture of like playfulness and like real accuracy. And that's important too. When you're talking about magic, it's not always about being skeuomorphic. It's the whales in this particular example that you can see were like half the size of the ship. But the waves here around this island, if we had got them just even a fraction wrong in terms of how real they felt, they would have felt cheesy and dumb and cartoony. And so we really have to try and balance those things when we're creating these things. But at Fantasy, we've always had this level of attention to detail to what we're creating. Because if you can fill what you're making with life, the people that you're designing for will feel that too. And so we talk about that as like principles that we want to hold true to with everything that we make. Because did you know that you're going to spend 21 years of your life in front of a screen? Like, that is 8,000 days. That's at 41% of your entire life is going to be in front of a screen.
Well, and this is why I never spare expenses when I get a phone.
There you go.
I said, I'm going to spend so much time in front of it. Just let's get the best screen.
Yes.
And that's true.
And these devices that we have, in some ways, are like kind of taking up so much of our life, but that's the privilege that I think we have as designers, right? Is that if we are going to make the things that people are using for 21 years of their life, like millions of people,
and the rest they sleep, right?
And the rest are asleep. Like if we can do that and make things that actually give back to people rather than just take from them. It's not just like this quick exchange of data, information, soulless. Like so much of what is out there today is soulless,
And Angelique says, this looks so cool. I wish I could make something like that myself. Thumbs up for this work. Well, Angelique, it all depends. I mean, it all depends on how focused you are and how bad you want it, because I think anybody can do anything if they really want it. So, like even,
I think focus is,
don't give up. Focus,
you get it spot on. Like when I was 15, I started my first design agency because exactly that. Like I was focused and I wanted it. And I think that we often look at the situations that we're in and we see the limitations. And sometimes it's about finding your voice.
Who were your clients at 15?
So
this like gaming stuff? Or?
No, it was really boring stuff. I used to skateboard around in my little suit. I used to skateboard around town in England, and I used to knock on like door to door of businesses and just say, do you want any business cards? Like that was literally how I started. But then I got bigger and bigger clients. And anyway, that's ancient history. But the point being is, if you have that passion, and then you can find your voice to speak up in a context, and maybe you don't feel like you have that agency today, you'd be surprised if you can speak up, just how much they might trust you to give it a go.
And Elliot is asking, are you guys working on any project right now? I love the current designs. I would really like to get to show you my project and hopefully get to work with you. Okay, well,
that's awesome. Thanks, Elliot. That's so nice. Well,
there we go. And Johannes just put the link.
That's amazing. Well, as I mentioned, we work with amazing designers all around the world, doesn't matter where you are. And we are so privileged in that regard.
And that's also something that changed since the 90s. In the 90s, you still had to go to London or Amsterdam or New York or Milan to to work for the cool clients. This is not true anymore. You know, and I always have this example of this guy in Egypt who incredible illustration talent, and this company in London like contacted him via Behance, and then, you know, he was commissioned to do the cover for the Pink Floyd album, for example. You know, and this is something that 10 years ago you would never have been able to, like, to show your talent to somebody like quarter of the world.
I think we can touch on that because you're so right. There is this kind of belief maybe that the only like kind of cool or exciting designers are in certain places in the world. It's not true anymore. Like, we have incredible designers that work at Fantasy who are based in their hometowns in like Vietnam, in Moscow, and Amsterdam, and not only are there great designers there, but there are great initiatives, projects, startups happening all around the world as well, which just makes it so exciting, I think, to be a designer at this moment, because it doesn't have to be that you're in Silicon Valley or to get some of that the cutting edge work.
And another phenomenon that's new and that I really like, and I wish I had when I started, all these co-working spaces, where instead of working alone at home, you go to a co-working space and you have like-minded people around you, and you can interact and exchange ideas. So yeah, many things have changed. So 1999, 20 years, Fantasy.
Started in the era of Flash, Macromedia, and the world has changed many times over. But I think, you know, some things never change, and that is the idea that we want to create things that truly leave that indelible mark on people. So yeah, it doesn't matter what tools you have.
So how many times has this app been downloaded? Do you know?
Many thousands of times.
Many thousands of times.
Which is very, very exciting. And you know, we get to kind of continually iterate on this and make it better and better. And there's lots more that we're kind of adding to this all the time.
Do you also listen to like user suggestions, or people like actually are using it on the boat and say, oh, I wish I could not only find the next bathroom, for example.
Totally. It's really, really important to understand and iterate based on how people are using it, as well as like what other features and functionality the business is thinking about that is there to delight people. All I can say is that if you've done user testing before, we had the amazing privilege to kind of be working on site in the port in Miami, and so that makes for really amazing access to cruisers who are going to give you very honest feedback. And again, that's why it's so important to be scrappy. You can't go through like waves and like kind of stagnate and not listen before it's too late. I think if you can be in a spot where, I don't know, like you are that person that's just going to like put on a suit, run down into town and try and do something, if having that mentality will serve you so well throughout your entire life. So that's what we always try and do. We call it guerrilla testing, where we're just going out into the world, showing people what we're making, and I would encourage you guys to do the same. It's a great technique.
So awesome. Okay. Well, there's many other questions. I'm sorry, we won't be able to answer. Let's answer. For example, what are the tools you use to create these motion prototypes?
Oh yeah, great.
You mentioned that you use Principle.
Yep.
Okay.
So we have a whole variety of tools that we use. Everything from Sketch, Principle. We're using After Effects. We're using a whole bunch of really exciting plugins.
I'm not hearing Adobe XD.
Oh, XD, of course. But no, the tooling that's out there today is getting more and more sophisticated, which is super exciting. And I think what is very exciting about the tooling that we have access to now as designers, when you go back from the days of Dreamweaver and everything kind of being so siloed, now everything kind of connects very well. And you're able to do end-to-end workflows and prototype in the same application that you're designing in, which is really exciting. I know that's the aspiration of XD, which is just so cool.
Yep, Peter, our time is up. I'm sorry about that. I could have talked with you like for another hour and learned about your project. So thank you for swinging by. Thank you for taking the time.
Very welcome.
And we'll be right back with Gert Franke. So stay here. We'll be right back.